OData enabled API, error handling, and many more events. We had conducted, and I hope many attendees have benefited from the live demo sessions and answers to the questions, making these events very interactive. So we are also planning to host more events in coming future, as the MuleSoft platform has so much to offer, and we encourage all the interested speakers to contact us if they wish to speak for our community group. Okay. So moving forward with today's agenda, as we know, MuleSoft has always been enabling users everywhere to take advantage of the latest and the greatest features that our platform has to offer. So this time we are very excited that there are many amazing new features that are prioritized in our product roadmap. So also as a MuleSoft admin, or anybody related to MuleSoft, it becomes very essential and very important that we learn and prepare and to leverage this new MuleSoft benefits which it has to offer. Okay, so to explain these features and roadmaps, we are very happy to introduce our special speakers from the MuleSoft, Mr. Greg Kerr and Mr. Lars Lynch, who will be giving us a detailed insight on MuleSoft product roadmap and other regional updates today. So talk about going back to the agenda, then we will have a Q&A session where your questions will be taken by our MuleSoft team. So in between, if you feel any questions you have in your mind, please post it in your chat anytime, and we can attend this at the end of the event when we have a Q&A session going on. Okay, and then most of the important part, which you are all, I must say, the attendees, you are waiting for it, is that we are going to have a quiz at the end of the session where we will be giving away from swags to the winners. Okay, so without much delay, on behalf of the community group, let me welcome Mr. Greg Kerr and Mr. Lars Lynch. So before we hand over to them to drive the session on the roadmap, can I have my co-leaders, Ms. Sylvia Lobo and Mr. Satya Sekhar Das Mandal, to introduce yourself? Then we can take it over from the MuleSoft there. So Ms. Sylvia Lobo, over to you.
Thank you so much, Raja. I hope everyone is able to hear me.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, great. So I'm on borrowed laptop and borrowed headphones. That's the reason that I'm continuously checking. Right. So when I started learning MuleSoft about 4 years ago, there was actually no learnings I could get anywhere in a community, and that was the main reason why I started looking out for having this kind of a group or a community that could help me and other developers to learn and better understand and build better products eventually. And I really want to thank Satya and Raja for doing a wonderful job. I know I've been skimping out of meetings, but thank you so much for taking this ahead to levels beyond my imagination. And yeah, like Raja mentioned, we all look forward to a very interactive session. It's not a story. It will be, in fact, a very much audience-based session where you have all the questions we hope we can answer and grow and learn from each other. That's it from my side. Thank you. Over to you, Satya.
Thanks, Silva. Hello, everyone. My name is Satya, and I am working with the MuleSoft technology from pretty long time. From 2008, I started when it was, MuleSource, right, open source. So I started my journey from that time, and I am the group leader for the Dubai group as well as the Riyadh group. So both the group I'm leading, and I speak in most of the, generally the group in India and US. Okay, so that's all about me, and I won't take much time, and probably we'll talk about the, the actual agenda. Okay, so if anyone would like to speak in this event in future, or if they would like to, they want any kind of special topic need to be covered in this event, please reach to us through the Meetup page. Okay, we'll arrange those topic, and we'll give you a chance to speak on this event. Okay, at the end of the event, there will be a quiz, interesting, and our sponsor will be distributing the goodies to all the top 10 winners. Okay, so I will hand over to Lars.
Thanks so much. Before I get started, I just want to, again, show a little bit what we have, and I'll turn over to Greg to give us a quick update. Prizes. As we said, we know a lot of you are interested in the prizes. To 3 random attendees, we'll be giving a MuleSoft training course and exam. So we'll contact you after the fact. We'll select from the organizers, and we'll be able to get you set up there. I know some of you are already certified on MuleSoft, but as you know, there are several levels you can do. So if you just have the introductory developer, you can step your level up and go even higher. Or maybe you know a colleague or someone else who would love to have that. So we have plenty of those. For the 10 thoughtful questions, we'd like to give away some vouchers for the MuleSoft store. And then we have plenty of t-shirts. So again, we'd like people just to participate, ask great, interesting questions. And we don't have to be the only ones answering. Between yourselves, this is a community. So if any of you have a great idea, a great answer, you've done it before, you know, have some regional knowledge, please feel free to speak out and help each other. That's really, it's not just us as the experts here. So we'll see this. And with that, I will turn over to Greg, my colleague Greg here, who can give us a bit of an update on the region and what's going on before we get into the main course. Over to you, Greg.
Hello, everybody. Namaste. Salam alaikum. Thank you very much for joining us on your weekend for most of you. So we really, really appreciate that. I'm looking very respectable in this photograph. I normally look a bit more like this, but I run the MuleSoft business for the Middle East and North Africa region. I'm not a MuleSoft technical expert, but I am an enterprise architect. I work very closely with Lars and our solution engineering team. Before I joined MuleSoft, I actually worked at our parent company, Salesforce. So I've been in the Salesforce family for around 8.5 years. I'm based in Dublin in Ireland. I'm sitting at the end of my rainy back garden in a log cabin here talking to you. And I usually spend 7 to 10 days a month in the region. So I'm very much hoping that we can do one of these events face to face in the near future once this pandemic finally releases its grip on us. And to that point, I know both the Middle East and India, where I know quite a few of you are from, have been badly affected by this pandemic. So look, some things are more important than work. I hope everybody's safe. I hope everybody's well. That's the most important thing. Please participate. You know, the chat channel, I think, is a great place to ask questions, win yourself a prize. Lars and I will post our direct contact details there. If anybody would like to get in contact with us directly about anything you're looking to do on the platform, any problems you're having, anything we can help with, any documentation you need, anything else, please just get in touch. We're really trying to grow the region. And I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes talking about what we're doing in the region, and then I'm going to hand over to Lars, who's going to address the meat of the session. So thank you very much to our fabulous organizing team here today. Really, really grateful to Satya, to Sylvia, to Shiranjini, and to Raja and the rest of the team for organizing today's session. So, like I said, I just want to talk a little bit about MuleSoft and what we're doing in the region, because it's really, really exciting at the moment. You know, we just started to make, you know, small investments in this region a couple of years ago, and it's really, really snowballed since. So I just wanted to kind of let you in on the inside track of what's happening. So we really had a 3-person team, believe it or not, for MuleSoft for the region until about 6 months ago. And in the last 6 months, that 3-person team has become a 17-person team. So we're making huge investments in the region, in customer success, in technical support, in solution engineering and architecture experts like Lars, in salespeople like me. You know, we're really, really happy to be supporting this Meetup initiative, and we'll hopefully be participating in future events under this group. And we may also be running some of our own events, which we would like to invite all of you to. So anything that promotes MuleSoft in the region, anything that helps us grow our business, anything that helps you with your careers, anything that helps get certified people in the region, all is a really, really positive thing for us. So if we can help, please let us know. I can't promise we'll give you everything you ask for, but I can definitely promise that we'll try. And if you don't ask, you don't get. So, you know, get in touch. be cheeky, ask us for what you need. And as I said, keep the questions coming in the Slack channel or in the chat channel. As I said, we'll post our direct contact details. So, just very, very briefly, I just wanted to touch on what's been happening over the last year and a half before we step into the product and the roadmap. We've grown the business in the region 400% last year over the year before. Middle East, North Africa is now the fastest growing region of MuleSoft in the world. And all of you here today have really, really helped with that. So we're really proud, we're really grateful, and we're only getting started. We expect that 17-person team in 18 months will be maybe 35 or 40, and we plan to double the business every year for the next 5 years. So this is a rocket ship. You're in the right place, you're on the right platform, you're acquiring the right skills, and anything we can do to help grow this, anything that helps any of us, I think helps all of us. So it's a community. It's fantastic to see what's happened already, and we're going to put our shoulder to the wheel now and really, really invest here. In terms of what we're doing, I suppose, in business in the region, I don't want to talk about, specific customers in the region, but suffice it to say we've, achieved some really, really key landmark wins with public sector and federal government in the UAE and Saudi. We're talking to government and private sector in Kuwait, in Bahrain, in Qatar, in Oman, in Egypt, in Morocco, and in what are still our two biggest markets in the region, UAE and KSA. We're working with retailers on digital transformation. We're working with logistics companies. We're building a new digital bank in the Middle East with one of our customers. So it's a really, really, really exciting time to be part of this business. I wish I was out in the desert once a month as I usually am. As I said, I'm sitting in a log cabin at the end of my back garden, but I hope to meet you all face to face soon. I hope to take you for some food or a drink. We hope to hand out some physical swag. But, in today's session, keep the questions coming. Lars has organized some great prizes, as he showed. Fill out the poll and let us know who you are and what you're doing. And as I said, I'm going to post some contact details. I see a comment from one of the guests around the benefits of MuleSoft over ESB products. This isn't actually going to be a sales pitch today, right? That's my job, and I'm going to shut up in a minute, and I'm going to hand over to Lars. What we're actually talking about today is we're going to talk about the MuleSoft roadmap, right? So the investments, the changes, the R&D, the engineering that we're putting into the platform, the new features we've rolled out recently and are rolling out in the future. But we will be absolutely happy to do sessions one-to-one with you and your company, or a more general session on one of these future meetups to talk about the general capabilities of the product or other things. And just as I'm handing over to Lars, I'm going to post my direct contact details in the chat now. So if anybody wants to get in touch with me or the team about anything, please feel free. I would just ask one minor point of housekeeping. Again, I know you're all doing this on your weekend, and we're all at home with pets and children and assistants and other people around. Maybe if you're not speaking, just try to keep your mic on mute, so we have nice clean audio for everybody else. Lars, over to you. Do you want to tell us all a little bit about you and what you do before you step into
Certainly.
The roadmap piece?
Thanks so much, Greg. So my name is Lars Lynch. As Greg said, I'm a lead solution engineer here for the MENA region. New to the region, as you may have guessed, but eager to learn. I want to learn the projects you're working on, what troubles you, what is going well, what's going not so well, and just get a mindset, because so often we hear only about the good things and what's going right, but we need to know about the problems. We need to know how can we help you more. So I'd love to hear about that and learn it. So I know been around the road. I have quite a strong Microsoft background, so I've seen lots of Microsoft, and then now with MuleSoft, plenty of integration. So seen quite a lot, and I'm eager to hear from you. Great. With that, let's get to the main deal, right? Let's go ahead and see what we have on the product roadmap. So any questions, we'll leave, I'd say, a bit for the end when we can really dive into questions. You can put them in the chat now if you have them, so you don't forget them, or you can save them for later. Don't feel that you need to be the first 10 to get the prize. We'll kind of choose our most thoughtful ones, I think, to give a prize to later. And then we'll get to it. And again, that ESB question, if we have time, we could try and answer it. But again, we have lots of time, and we can give you a private session later to dive into that. Great, let's get to it. Before I go ahead, legalese, right? We're going to be showing a lot of things that are on Roadmap. On Roadmap means they will probably happen, but they might change. They might change, they might get delayed, any number of things. So we don't want you to take this as an absolute promise for when these things will be ready and base your purchasing decisions on this, or recommend them to your customers because they'll be ready in a month. We know that things out of our control can happen, so that won't be. That said, most of what's on here is happening. We have people working on them and they're coming to fruit. But exactly, don't take the exact timelines for when this is happening. And please don't share this for the moment outside of this group. These are things that are on Roadmap. You're a privileged group to have seen this, but we'd ask you not to share these details to the general public. Great, that's out of the way. So we have 4 main areas on the MuleSoft product. As you know, MuleSoft is a large platform. And first of all, we want to think about developers, right? People that are developing, integrating, rolling out your code. Those are people that we need to worry about, and we've improved life for you there. The concept of unlocking the silo, right? How do we continue to unlock data from more systems, be it more connectors, more things. So we'll talk about that. How to connect any system, right? So we'll see there, we have some really interesting things about broadening our scope, not just inside of any point and that's on MuleSoft, but even beyond that. And then things for more of maybe the platform guys, people running the back part of MuleSoft and making the magic actually happen. We have lots of news there. So those are our 4 areas we'll keep in mind here. Let's look at the first one, and this is for the devs. I know there are quite a few devs on the call, right? So let's talk about what's new for developers coming down the road. First, we have a data weave playground. I know a lot of people have played with your data weave transformations, right? Where you're trying to take maybe a JSON into an XML or an XML into a JSON, and sometimes you don't get that syntax quite right. Right? And you play with it for half an hour or hours inside of Anypoint Studio, and it can be frustrating. We know that. So we built an online web site where you can just go in, you put in your data input, literally copy and paste from whatever message you're trying to play with, and play with it online. In a question of minutes, you can get it right. And that way you take your finalized data weave transformation, put it into Anypoint Studio, and you're done. We also have a tutorial. If you haven't tried this, open up the tutorial window at the same side, and you'll be able to play with in this playground, see how your expressions can actually work. So check that out. It'll really step up your game as far as data weave. We also have another powerful feature, and this one has a lot of meat to it. I can't get into the details here because there's so much to it, but data graph. And this is available very soon. We've already seen previews of it. And data graph will now allow us to, previously where we had an API, and we had to make, as we know, in our process layer, maybe we make calls to lots of different system APIs, right? And we had to kind of manually coordinate all that, and maybe later do a join and say, well, this one goes with this, and take fields from here and from there. And to be honest, some of it was a bit manual, right, and prone for error. So now what we can do with a single data graph call is link these objects together and define those entities and define the way they're related to each other, define hierarchies. So no longer do you as a developer, every time you want to pull up your customer record, I am a customer record, and I know I have some data in SAP, some data in Salesforce. I don't have to remember how to join those and which fields are in which. I know that my data graph is ready to go and pull those in one single call. It will pull data from all the systems. Right? So this is very interesting. Any of you who have played with GraphQL, you know that this is built on the back of that. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there. Right now, the documentation is already up on data graph, so you can already get started having a look at that. So that's a very powerful feature coming for anyone who really needs to start bringing data from even more sources together. So that's good to know. The new IDE. I don't know if any of you have heard of this, but I know that some people showed frustration with the current Anypoint Studio because it's built on Eclipse, and sometimes shows its age. Right? We're aware, we know that, and we're working on a new IDE named Pink Panther that is designed to really make a lighter experience. It'll have all the power you're used to, but that much faster, that much more modern, and really be a whole new step for developers. So I'm eager. It's expected. It'll take some time. We're still working on it. We have to polish it, but when it's ready, I think it'll be a radical step forward for our developers. Now, this is something that I don't want to say controversial, but I know a lot of people, when they hear low code, and certainly developers, low code, it's not for me. MuleSoft Composer is our way to start doing low code with Anypoint. And I'm going to tell you a secret here. We've targeted towards business users, right? Business users, for people that might be scared of using Anypoint Studio, or maybe they haven't really used the Fluid Composer we have now, Fluid Designer we have at Anypoint. This is designed to let our business users start to get things going. Start to have, if they have ideas, a business user, they have an idea, they can start to try it out. Now, by no means are we taking anything away from developers. We know that our business people will not be developing all of the integration. The idea is that developers do the heavy lifting, get all of our system API up, probably all of our process APIs, and leave maybe some experience APIs open for business people where they can't break anything. They can't hurt the systems, and they can't overload us. But here's the real secret. In my years of development, sometimes we get business users using low-code solutions. But honestly, as a developer, if I can use a low-code solution, I can do things really fast. I'm a professional, and I can, if it takes me an hour in Anypoint Studio, maybe it takes me 5 minutes in this new low-code MuleSoft Composer. So it's really unlocking developers as well. So we'll be eager to try that out. For the moment, it's with Salesforce, but coming down the road, we'll have the same experience in MuleSoft. We're excited to see how this builds on top of everything we've already done, continues to maintain the great reuse we have with MuleSoft and Anypoint platform, but really open up to even more people. So we'll see more on that in the future. And that's really the idea here, that it doesn't take away from us as IT, right? We can be at IT, we still hold the keys to the systems, we're still approving who has access to what data, but once we give them access, business has tools that are more friendly for them. And again, keep in mind, if it's friendly for them, we go really fast. As developers, we can go even faster and really put together in 5 minutes something that might take them a few hours or more to do. It will be seamless, as we said, so really nothing to change here, and everything we've already built still works. It'll be well integrated there. So that's what we have for developers, and there's several other things I won't get into. We've updated this Anypoint Studio to work with Java 11 and a few other patches, and there's lots of other good stuff coming down the road for devs. So let's see the next area we have here. Skip along here. APIs, right? So connectivity systems. Let's see what's happening on that front. We know that not everything is being done on Anypoint. Right? You have lots of APIs, lots of gateways. Maybe you're building them directly with code, and you're rolling out directly to an AWS Lambda function. Lots of different ways to roll stuff out and secure them. And we know that the problem is that, yeah, you can develop it real quick, and we as developers roll out our code quickly. But what about after? How do we manage it? How do we secure it? I know personally as a developer, I just need to get it working. Sometimes security is an afterthought. And if I can just get it done, or even better, have someone else worry about it for me, my life is all set. So this is something we've been thinking about. How do we, outside of Anypoint, continue to help our integration projects? So the idea is to support now any API in any environment. Right? You don't just have to have your APIs and your gateways inside of Anypoint platform. We want to start branching out and reaching out to where you're deploying your things to help you there. So we're going to work on deploying an API gateway into any spot. We have a lighter API gateway we can roll out and integrate into your CID and put it really anywhere you're going to have your APIs. Or maybe you've rolled out your API in AWS Lambda and you say, it's working, I like my code, for some reason I want to do it here, I don't want to do Anypoint. But we need that reusability. We know that Anypoint is so great when we can really start reusing it. Right? Some of you who've already been through MuleSoft projects, you know that the first one goes quickly, but the next ones go even faster because I'm reusing blocks and code that I've already built for my first one. And we want to bring that same power to APIs you have everywhere. So no, I don't care where you roll out your API, I want to have you be able to reuse it. So bring that API into my Exchange catalog so people can reuse it. Because again, the secret weapon we have with MuleSoft is that reuse. That's what we're best known for and where our projects really come into their own. So we want to help you out there. Get into the CI/CD pipeline. Make it automatic for you so you don't have to think about publishing it to the catalog. It's done for you. So this, again, coming down the road, we're working on this. We know there are a lot of environments out there, a lot of different ways to work. So we'd love to hear your feedback and see, how are you working? How would this fit into your pipeline? And see how to get it done. We also know that there are new types of APIs. Certainly, a lot of people are still, for your older systems, right? We have our SOAP, WSDL, REST APIs, right? And those are the classic, easy to do, kind of make a transaction and get my data back. But we know that there are a lot of new APIs that are more evented. Maybe I have a webhook, or maybe it's an asynchronous API. So I have to wait and I'm not going to get a response right away. And these up to now have been a bit difficult to model in a point platform. So we're aware of that, and now we're rolling out something so that these will be just as easily to treat in your RAML definitions, and you'll be able to treat them like any other first-class API we have. So those are very important because that's where things are going when you move to scale. And in a nutshell, that's what we have for APIs. We have a lot of other stuff we'll talk about a bit later, lots of details. But again, I don't want to get too deep into this because there's so many new things coming down the road. But these are the biggest ones that I've seen so far for APIs. Connectivity. So this is going to be about new systems, right? Unlocking new systems, your favorite platforms, right? So for the moment, we're concentrating on the even biggest one. We pick out, I'd say, the few best in class, right? So Jira, Smartsheet, Box, Asana, things we know people are using. But then we have our large platforms, right? We know lots of people are on AWS. Lots of people are some people are rolling out in Azure or Office 365. And we know that there's lots of updates there, right? All those systems are rolling out their APIs and updating constantly. So we constantly have our connectors updated on top of those. So we have lots of new things there. I can't even begin to list all the new connectors and updated connectors that'll be there, but rest assured, those are all coming and be ready for you. You can see here we have at least 26 new ones from everything from connecting to an Excel spreadsheet to heavy systems like Snowflake, Redshift, our Amazon, our AWS Lambda functions, whatever you want, we can connect to it now. So really, again, staying up to date and bringing us there. We have plenty of accelerators for heavier systems, but I'm not going to get too much into that because I could spend all day just enumerating the different systems we have. So let's talk a bit about platform now. Now, for those of us who are developers and we just roll out our APIs to the system, maybe we don't care what's happening behind the scenes. I don't really care where my API is rolled out, just that it's working. But for those of us who actually have to manage the infrastructure, we'd like to know what other options we have now. So we have Cloud Hub, right, which is where MuleSoft handles everything. I deploy my API, MuleSoft hosts it, secures it, backs it up, does everything. I don't have to worry about a single thing. But we know that due to data requirements, sometimes we need to host it in our own cloud, right? Maybe we have, maybe we're using the Azure cloud, the local Azure cloud, right? So here we can now roll out with Runtime Fabric onto the managed Kubernetes systems. So if you're using their Kubernetes systems, if any of you are familiar with that, you can roll out your own APIs in those systems. So it's quite a bit to handle. I don't know if anyone's here has been using those, but if you're familiar with Kubernetes and you're familiar with those systems, that is an optional way to go. Certainly not as hands-off as we do with Cloud Hub. Cloud Hub, we handle everything, and that's kind of the great thing about the cloud. I can not worry about all the back end in the system. But for certain reasons, we know that some of our customers need that option, and that's there for them. As we move to the future, we'd really like to think about Kubernetes everywhere, right? And really I don't care if it's Kubernetes in your personal data center, if you're using one of the cloud platforms, AWS, Azure, Google, or you want to use our Cloud Hub, it'll be Kubernetes everywhere with all the power that brings. So that's quite a bit down the road, but we're moving there. We're moving in that direction. We'll be rolling out the new Cloud Hub. So there'll be, you'll see some visual updates for sure. So you'll see a new look and feel, but also know that behind the scenes, there's lots of updates as well. I can tell you some of the limitations have been updated, and there's so much news there that I can't even get into, but that'll be an interesting thing. And we're already working on the next version beyond that, right? Cloud Hub 3.0. So there'll be lots of infrastructure changes coming down the road to make it that much more scalable and reliable.
Just on that, Lars, sorry to
go ahead, Greg.
But just for the audience, because I'm sure there'll be some curiosity about this, and I know a lot of you are running services on Cloud Hub. Effectively, what we're doing under the hood is we are re-engineering Cloud Hub to be more like Runtime Fabric. Okay, so in essence, we're drinking our own champagne, as they say. So we're effectively under the hood. Cloud Hub will become more like RTF. There will be a more comprehensive containerization and orchestration features under the hood. There will also be some more granularity in terms of how you do things like assign capacity and control services. And then obviously, as a result of this, there will be even more enhanced levels of portability between Cloud Hub and other containerized targets. So for example, if you want to develop services on Cloud Hub, but then roll them onto, a hyperscaler like Azure or AWS afterwards. So really exciting things coming in Cloud Hub. Sorry, Lars, carry on.
No, definitely. Good point, Greg. That's great detail there. And again, if anyone has questions and wants to dive into some of this stuff, we can do our best to answer now, or contact us privately and we can really get into the nitty-gritty there and see where we can go. Good stuff. Thanks, Greg. So again, with that shift, as we talked about before, where we really want to start helping you anywhere you have your APIs, we want to also extend monitoring, right? So not only are we certainly monitoring things that we have inside of the Anypoint platform, but if you have APIs rolled out other places, let's bring that together. We know that every system, AWS has their monitoring system, Azure have their own, but you know what? We're doing everything in Anypoint. If we can bring that together and have a nice active system that really pulls data and pulls logs from all systems, it'll make the admin's life that much easier. So that's something that will go along with that securing and monitoring your system anywhere you decide to deploy. Also for our admins, we know that currently our role-based control groups can sometimes be a bit tough to manage, right? So we're rolling out an idea, and this is already live, teams. So this is just a different way to organize your teams, organize people, and assign roles in an easier way. So that's something that maybe a lot of people didn't appreciate, but I can tell you that our admins, now that you can work with teams, it's a big step in the right direction, really towards opening up Anypoint to lots of people, right? If I can now think about my entire organization, I don't have to worry about going one by one or doing the groups. I can do them out as teams and even have hierarchies of teams. So that's a powerful way to start moving forward with permissions and organizing. So that's what we're doing on a platform level. Now we have, again, lots more. I could talk to you more about the light gateway we're going to roll out when we talk about securing your API anywhere it is. We know we can't go in with a heavier gateway. You need something that's up fast, that's in line with those microservices or in line with our Kubernetes deployment, right? Where you have just a thin, nice, secure gateway. So we have lots more information that's coming there. And more about single sign-on and other identity providers. But again, these are details that I think would probably leave for questions, or possibly even leave if you had a private session, want to get in touch with us and we can give you more info there. So that's kind of what I want to show quickly, right? I didn't want to take too long because I know we have lots of questions and I know you have a busy day. For anyone that's not certified and won't win one of our prizes, keep in mind that the very first level of certification is free, right? And you get an exam after that. So you can go online, start with our first developer and be certified that way. And if you've already been certified, because I see a lot of you already are, tell your colleagues, right? Everyone can get certified, won't cost you anything, and you'll be that much more along in your journey. Thanks. So before we show questions, I'd like to show a bit about our audience, right? Show a little bit about what we've been doing. Give me one moment, and we'll see who we are. Give me one moment here. All right. Let's just get to know us. Okay. One moment. I think I lost it.
Typical solution engineer.
Okay, typical, exactly. I changed the window.
Monitors there, Lars.
Yeah, well, maybe it's not going to happen. And anyhow, we can just go ahead and jump into the questions then.
Yeah, just while you're organizing yourself there, there was one thing
let's go ahead and take some questions.
I forgot to talk about.
Oh, no.
I'm typically chaotic for a typical salesperson. So the one thing I forgot to talk about was a really interesting initiative from Salesforce. That's very relevant to the UAE. Some of you will have heard about it, some of you will not, but you're going to see some really interesting news around MuleSoft and Salesforce, and there's already been some in the region. So for those of you who aren't familiar with it, I would encourage you to find out about Hyperforce. So Hyperforce is Salesforce's substrate independent deployment of the core Salesforce platform onto hyperscalers. And we've so far done that in a number of locations globally, and we're live. Okay, so India is one, Australia is one, Canada is one, and some of the government clouds in the US are another example. And Salesforce have announced this for UAE in H1 of calendar year next year. So the current timeline is somewhere in that January to June period next year. The reason I'm mentioning this is going to have serious regional ramifications, because Salesforce, with their core products, marketing automation, CRM for sales, CRM for service, artificial intelligence, pro code pass, low code pass, analytics, those products are going to be available running on AWS in the UAE. The reason I'm mentioning it again is you're going to see substantially increased investment from Salesforce, and in particular in certain industries and sectors which did not want to host their data outside of the UAE. So I'm thinking government, I'm thinking financial services, I'm thinking telco, as the prime three examples. So that's just a really interesting thing that's coming. And obviously MuleSoft offers a lot of connectivity and assets for the Salesforce platform and other platforms, because we have, a Switzerland approach. We're neutral in MuleSoft. We can integrate Microsoft and Adobe, or Oracle and SAP, or your home-built systems and others. But you're going to be hearing a lot more news about Salesforce in the UAE, and it's worth keeping an eye. The other thing we anticipate, and this is me speaking personally, is that we should have a Salesforce and MuleSoft office opening in the UAE. I'm hoping within the next 6 to 12 months. It's coming. It's not a question of if, but when. Someday in the not too distant future, I hope we have you all in the office in region. In terms of the questions, there's a couple I'll take here because they're kind of commercial, and then I'm going to hand over to the fantastic team of Lars and Sean from our solution
Real quick,
engineering.
Greg, can you see my screen at all? Can you see that June 25th?
We can just see the green bars, but we can't see.
Great, that's okay. So I'm going to move to the next one. Yeah, that's the beginning. So I just want to tell who we are, and then I'll get into questions. So here's what we saw. We're about 30% devs and 30% managers. So a nice split there, in that we're not all just devs. So maybe I was talking about to the right area. We also saw what kind of tech stack we're using, right? A lot of people using Java. Hardly anyone, I'm saying no one, using .NET, and plenty of people using the JS frameworks. And I'd love to know the other, right? So if any of you are using something that wasn't in the questionnaire, and certainly we know there are lots of tech stacks, love to hear what else you're using there. And then the sector. Surprisingly, I was expecting some people from finance, didn't see anyone from finance. So I'd love to know what the other is, right? I know there's lots of sectors out there. I didn't need a massive list, but love to hear kind of what sectors you're working in, maybe have something that's tough there, and that's it. So with that, and then I said, plenty of you are already certified. So if you win a certification and you're already maxed out on your certifications, pass it to a colleague. Great. All right, go ahead with the questions then, Greg. Thanks so much.
Just to note, Greg, we have 3 certification, up for grabs here. I think it'll fit nicely because it will ensure that for the next session, the 20% will be certified actually. So it brings it to a holistic 100%. Sorry.
Typical numbers engineer, Sean. So yeah, look, there was a couple that I wanted to touch on here, right? And I'm not the techie guy here. That's Lars and Sean. But there was one around can we assign a smaller fraction than 0.1 of a core to a service with Cloud Hub 2.0? I answered that in the feed. The expectation is yes. I can't give you exact numbers yet, but like I said, Cloud Hub is going to become more RTF-like. So that should give you an idea of what will be possible there. And then the other one, the other two I wanted to touch on, will any of the new additions incur additional cost? It's a great question, right? You know, most of it, no, right? So generally when we release new connectors, new features, you know, they are generally made available to all MuleSoft customers at no cost. There are some examples that might incur a cost. So, you know, some of our connectors, a small percentage are premium connectors where we have to charge a cost to cover development and certification, like SAP for HANA would be an example. And then there are things that, in the spirit of honesty, I don't know the answer to that question. So, you know, for example, universal control plane, you know, will we charge for that? It might be included, it might be chargeable, it might be a model like Service Mesh where you just need some capacity to run it, so you just buy an extra core or whatever else it might be. But if anybody's interested specifically in any of these features, please get in touch with us directly. And I'd ask Lars and Sean to please also post your contact details in the feed. I've done that already myself. And then the last question I wanted to address was, are there any cost reductions in an event we do bundle purchase of Salesforce and MuleSoft? The answer to that is broadly yes, right? So if you're a current MuleSoft customer, then you're already a Salesforce customer. But if you're interested in Salesforce products and services like Marketing Cloud or Platform or Tableau or Service Cloud, get in touch with us. We work very closely with the Salesforce team in the region, and we'll make sure they take care of you, and we'll make sure they're aware you're already MuleSoft customers. And if you want to purchase, for example, Salesforce and MuleSoft together, if you're not a customer of either at the moment, again, let us know, and we can put together a joint value proposition. We did a project with an airline recently where, due to the change of their business with COVID, they needed to deploy a CRM platform very quickly, and they needed to connect it to some back-end services. So we actually put together a proposal for Salesforce and MuleSoft and some services. And there were commercial efficiencies from buying all of that together. The last thing I'd point out is there are cost savings outside of licensing for being a Salesforce and a MuleSoft customer. So there's one ass to kick, as my American friends would say, in terms of support, right? So if you're trying to diagnose, you know, a flow or a business process that goes from the engagement layer through the integration layer, you know, you're not bouncing back and forward between MuleSoft and Microsoft, or, you know, Oracle and SAP, for example. It's one team. And also, like I said, we have a lot of amazing assets and connectors on MuleSoft that are really powerful for Salesforce customers. So not just the connector to the core platform. I'm thinking things like the Service Cloud Accelerator, the Commerce Cloud Accelerator, the Marketing Cloud Accelerator. We have a really powerful Tableau connector coming soon. Again, not a chargeable item. And we also have templates and boilerplates for doing things like, you know, updating a SAP ERP using MuleSoft from a Salesforce account record. So there's a lot of awesome pre-built assets there. I'll shut up now, and I'll let my technical guys have a look through some of the questions and answer them.
Just a few. I'm just scanning through some of these questions, Greg. So there's a question around MuleSoft Composer. Sounds interesting. Is it something like connectors? I think Lars touched on this earlier. The focus here is to enable what we would call a citizen integrator. So yes, it does. MuleSoft Composer is released with a number of different connectors out of the box, if you will, including NetSuite, Tableau, and a number of others. However, the focus is still to empower central IT, the developers. So in the same way as you do today, if you create an asset, it can in and of itself become reusable in the context of Composer, and there's an approval process baked in around that. So you basically can build your own, you know, assets and connectors for reuse with Composer. Another question around, this was around, do you have lookup capabilities, like database table lookup capabilities? And the analogy that's given is it can be used in data, you know, you could do something in DataWeave to do a lookup effectively. So if you think about data graph, that GraphQL feature that we're releasing, that is effectively what we're doing. You know, you're composing from attributes of other APIs new APIs, and you're doing that declaratively. So if you think about lookup or that use case, that's really what we're doing. Just to add a little bit of meat around, what Greg mentioned earlier on, the view is currently that data graph is most likely to be an add-on feature, as in, an additional commercial cost in terms of the actual feature itself, just to be aware of that. Question around anypoint security, Mule security module, anypoint security. I'm just going to read out the question here. Anypoint platform security and many more. Great question. Security has many different facets. If you think about things like authentication, we're expanding the number of IDPs and endpoints that we support around authentication. First of all, in terms of physical access security. If you think about access controls, Lars touched on the Teams feature. We've had feedback that permissioning, role-based access control needs to get more flexible, and for that reason we have introduced things like the Teams feature to allow a lot more granularity around how accessing the service. We continue to increase the standard out-of-the-box policies that we're providing. That's the other thing I'd say. Sorry, I'm just literally scanning through these. Do we allow different environments like scratch orgs? I think we have somebody from Salesforce if they're talking about scratch orgs. The answer is yes. There is no technical upper limit to the number of pre-production or sandbox or test harness environments that you can create. It's purely a limit around the number of vCores that you have available to you. So in terms of CI/CD support, yes, we support.
Yeah, I wanted to touch that one. Can I take that one, Sean? I see two questions here about that. Will the CI/CD integration be customizable? And then maybe an add-on, will the auto catalog be auto-discoverable in Exchange? So yeah, that's definitely the idea, is that we know that people are building lots of APIs. We know that certainly you are the one that designs and builds your CI/CD pipeline, and we're not going to touch that. We'll give you connectors and components to put into your CI/CD pipeline where you see fit. Maybe this pipeline needs it. Maybe I don't release it until actually production, or maybe I have it in my dev pipeline. So that's totally up to you, and we wouldn't dream of touching that. But we want to make it easy. You can do a lot of this now, but it's a lot of code to do. So we want to make it easy for you. And then exactly as Ravi said there, will it be auto cataloging? That's exactly the point. We want all these APIs you're making to be automatically discoverable in Exchange. And if we can even help you document them or get the documentation started, that much better. So those are great questions there, and that's where the power comes from. Good stuff. Any other good questions you see there, Sean?
I'll just pick a quick one here. Question around AWS private links. Do we support it? For customers who have on-prem systems, typically a deployment will involve the provisioning of a VPC, and we provide for AWS VPC peering. So that, I think, will address that question. Couple of others, cross-reference out-of-the-box features. Lots and lots of questions. This is great. Loads of questions.
Alan had a security one here, and I have to look into this, Greg, Sean. I don't know if you know this off the bat, but does Cloud Hub support allow customer certificates? Alan, I imagine you're referring to SSL certificates, self-signing, something like that. So I understand you certainly have to IP. I have to look into that one, Sean, and see how we can do that.
Short answer, yeah, we support self-signed certificates. As a matter of fact, I would use something like that all the time for TLS termination, for example. So yes, the short answer is yes. I think it's specifically on Cloud Hub. Yes, the answer is yes. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, great. All right, any good stuff? People excited about Kubernetes? That's good to hear. Good.
Cost reductions. There's a question around PSP insurance. I think we have most of them. Are there any standout questions that we haven't seen?
Feel free to come off mute. If anyone has a question that they didn't put in the chat, we didn't answer it right, we have time. So open up your microphone and ask us straight out. In the meantime, I'll put my info in. All right. Well, if that's it, again, we're open to any questions. Send them via email, LinkedIn, however you want to get a hold of us, and we can just reduce question. Yeah, the lookup. We did talk about that one.
All double Dutch to me when we get into data weave, guys. So sorry, I just wanted to check we didn't leave one. I will venture that if anybody wants to come off mute and ask a question, you're pretty much certain to win one of the $150 swag prizes. So if anyone's brave and wants to ask us something, go for it. You'll be the proud owner of a new MuleSoft hoodie or backpack or both next week.
Guys, don't miss this opportunity.
Go for it, Raja. Go for it. But I had a question about the security, and I'm wondering whether the security, yes, Satya Mandal did mention about the security module, but I'm referring to security of the messages that are being sent across. I remember I had to, of course, this is from way back, but I had to especially encode and encrypt and decrypt the messages. And I'm wondering if we have separate protocols for the message at rest, for the data at rest, and while the message is being transferred. Do we have any inbuilt security for that? Or how is it being handled in MuleSoft?
In transit in MuleSoft, Raja. So when you say in transit, are you talking about from the time a request hits the front end, so to speak, as opposed to when we return a response?
From all sides, whenever it's being transmitted from any API to any API.
Okay. So you want to go beyond the normal HTTPS and really encrypt it everywhere. Okay.
Yes, yes.
If you think about a payload that might have PII type data or sensitive data, we provide a tokenization policy. It's part of the Edge security offering, which allows you to tokenize as opposed to encrypt attributes of the payload in flight. So that might be something like a credit card number. It's non-intrusive, format maintaining tokenization. Encryption and specific, SHA type algorithms is something I'd have to check out, to be quite honest with you. I'd have to check, over and above the tokenization policy, what we provide.
Are we looking at something like an ephemeral key across security when we are encrypting, decrypting, or are we just looking at plain the regular SHA-1 RSA?
So one of the policies we can support is FIPS2. So FIPS2 for meaning that effectively the key is only ever maintained in memory effectively. I can check that out for you. I can follow up, Raja, with you.
We also do support some nice features, I think, around third-party key brokering and key rotation using other services that you manage for that. I see we've got another couple of questions here. One around GraphQL, one around OAuth, and one around Edge.
Question from Alam: does MS API Layer support OAuth 2? Yes, it does. We are not. We do not provide. So we're not an IDP, if that's what the question is, an identity provider. If you think about a use case where you have an external IDP like Salesforce or Okta or others, we can act as the SP, the endpoint, but not as the the IDP provider.
A little bit more about GraphQL. Does anyone want to take that one, maybe?
I'm trying to see the question there.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the question.
Question
the GraphQL support in Mule, right? So basically, from what I've understood, and again, it's still quite a bit in preview, but we allow you to design it. I'm not sure, and I have to check on this, if you can actually just put in your own GraphQL query already designed. I don't think so, because I know it supports a subset of a lot of the GraphQL. So what you build will actually be making GraphQL under the hood, but I'm not sure. Sean, I don't know if you know more here. I don't think yet you can just put in your entire GraphQL query as you want. Correct me here if I'm wrong.
That is correct. Yeah, you need to create a model first before you can inject your query effectively. So you would have to define the model, the schema effectively. Yeah, we can, if there's interest there, we can certainly do a follow-up session around GraphQL and actually show a demo.
I think we can. Yeah, when it comes out, when it's public, I think we're good to go.
Yeah, and I mean that's something I offered at the start. I think we'll rely on you to contact the organizers to talk to each other. If you want to do, I see there's a lot of interest in security. There's a lot of interest in Kubernetes. There's a lot of interest in Cloud Hub 2.0. There seems to be a lot of interest in API Federation and GraphQL. So please let us know as a group what you're interested in. And, if we need to get one of our security experts to do a dedicated security session, or if we want to support this group and we want to give you the tools you need.
Sure. Please reach us, contact us, what kind of things, if you have any questions, definitely as a group leader, we will come up with some next future events, with MuleSoft, and probably everybody can benefit from it.
Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate joining and the fantastic questions. And we'll be in touch. For those of you that will choose the winner, and we'll be in touch with organizers and contact you for your prizes.
Fantastic. Thank you to our team. Thank you to the organizing team. And like I said earlier, thank you to all of the attendees for joining on a weekend. We can do future sessions during working hours if it's okay for you to attend that time. We can also do sessions, in evening or weekend time for you if that's more convenient. And like I said, anything you need, whether it's to try something out, a feature free of charge, like somebody asked me for, whether it's for a more dedicated session, whether it's for a demo, whether it's to see some use cases of MuleSoft, that from other companies in your industry or other companies with the same business challenge, please just get in touch with us. Ask and you shall receive. Okay, let's wrap that. Satya and team, do you want to say anything in closing?
Definitely. Thank you, Lars. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Greg, for giving such a wonderful insight on what MuleSoft is coming up with. Although this is not publicly available, you made as you came through our event, and if I were an attendee, this was a very meaningful session for me. So that I can prepare myself, like what is coming, and I can plan my architecture in accordance to the coming future. And I bet many people, since the questionnaires, the interaction were wonderful, and I believe we have a lot of questions. We will take it some offline, and future sessions, I see there are a lot of interest on Kubernetes, on the security model. Definitely we'll come up hosting more sessions, and we'll definitely will go with as per the feedback. Thank you so much, everybody. And but not the least, we will be communicating the winners for the swag, as Greg mentioned, and we will reach out to you separately. We have your registration email address, and we will reach out to you. Okay?
Yeah, and the last thing I'd say on that is, in terms of the product in the region, we're only getting started, right? We've got the financial muscle of Salesforce behind us in terms of what's going on at an R&D and engineering stage, right? Some of the stuff that's coming after what we've talked to you about today. Watch this space. This is the platform to be on. This is where to get certified. This is where to build your skills, because in the region and globally, like I said, we're only getting started. Okay. Fantastic.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Shukran. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.